is the last day of February, so I thought there was no better way to celebrate than to build an all pink cottage. And this is a big one, so without further ado, let's get into the speed build. I decided to build this all pink cottage in Henford-on-Bagley, and I'm building on the 2 Old Mill Lane lot. I never actually build on this lot, but it's so pretty. It's a 50 by 40, so it's definitely massive, but I knew that I wanted to have a bunch of fun little elements on this property, so I was super excited to go for something that was a little bit bigger. For the actual shape of the cottage, I knew I wanted to go with something super traditional. I wanted really high roof lines. I wanted fun little bump outs here and there. I knew I wanted a sunroom, so I was really glad to have all of the extra space on this lot. And of course, it just means more rooms and more space to put a bunch of pink furniture. I love February because I love Valentine's Day. It's one of my favorite holidays, and it's purely because I love all things love, pink, frilly, hearts. Anything that has to do with that, count me in. So I always knew that I wanted to do a fun color challenge, and I knew it had to be pink. Over the last few years, it feels like we've gotten a lot more options when it comes to certain colors in this game. Things like purple. In the base game, all we have is that insane, like bright fuchsia color that was so prevalent 10 years ago, but now is completely outdated. So you can tell that they're kind of making up for that. We've gotten a lot of lavender swatches of things in the last couple of years. So I was so excited to attempt a challenge like this where I could really put some of these new swatches to the test. And pink is one of those colors that I think has gotten a lot more modernized over the last few years. So I was really excited to try it out and see what could be done. And you're probably looking at this cottage thinking, Toastie, where's the pink? The truth is, this is not a full, complete color challenge. I wanted this cottage to actually feel livable, so I decided to go for pink accents. You can see I'm putting in the Horse Ranch shutters, which I believe are perfection. They are so gorgeous. I love that they fit on the cottage living windows really well, and the shades are so beautiful. Horse Ranch is one of those packs that came out within the last few years, and they definitely expanded a lot of the shades. We've got pink, we've got a lot of baby blue, and that light minty green that's really popular. These shutters were actually the main inspiration behind this build. I knew I wanted to do something kind of cottagey, a little bit rustic. This baby pink color is really like the guiding light for what I wanted the interior to look like. I decided not to do a full-blown color challenge where the walls are pink, the roof is pink, everything is pink, just because I actually think I might want to live and play in this property, and I didn't want it to be a total assault on the eyes. So that's why the challenge is a little bit more chill. I really just wanted to include a lot of pink accents. You can see I scooted the house over and I put in this giant pond. I knew that I wanted a really big focal, almost lake on this property because I wanted to attach one of the spinning wheels to the house. So I ended up using the water wheel that's in the Cottage Living debug, and I scoot it right against the house. So it's sitting half on the house, half in the water, and it ends up looking so good. And I just thought, since the property's called Old Mill Lane, we had to kind of incorporate that somehow. Now I am building a bit of a gazebo, and I actually had no plans for this gazebo whatsoever. I did not know what I was gonna put up on it. I just knew that I wanted a couple other little structures to fill in the lot. A 50 by 40, it's not the biggest lot in the game, but it's definitely pretty huge. So I wanted to make sure that it felt very full, like I was using up every inch of the property. And of course, you can't have a cottage without a greenhouse. So that's what I'm putting in now. I used the Greenhouse Haven kit windows and doors, and then I used a little rounded platform. I initially wanted it to be up on stairs, but I didn't want the platform to be that big, so we nixed the stairs. It's down, it's just one level up. And I love that you can actually see the brick foundation peeking through. I ended up going with this kind of gray toned light wood color. We see a lot of this in Life and Death. That's where these columns are from, and they're probably my favorite columns in the game. I think they're so beautiful and rustic. I wanted this cottage to feel super nice, but I also wanted it to feel like it had been here for a while. So so I think those columns were perfect. Not only that, but I think the tone of the wood looks really nice with that baby pink that I was so excited about. Oh, and here you can see I'm putting in the water wheel. This item is so cool. It's in debug, so if you're looking for it, just type in your cheats bb.show hidden objects and bb.show live edit objects. That's how you can access debug. Some of the items are really cool. Like this water well will actually spin when you're in live mode. So I was really excited to use it and have it attached to the house. And now I am just throwing in so many trees. This is also a trick when you're trying to fill in a 50 by 40 lot. Having a bunch of trees makes it feel really full. And I was so excited to use these weeping willow trees right next to the pond. I thought it looked gorgeous. And I was so excited to use these crawling flowers. They came in this perfect shade of pink. These are from Get Together. And this is actually probably one of my most used items in the game. I use these things all the time. I think they're beautiful. They come in a couple different shades. They just look so natural and they suddenly make a build feel really lived in. In this build, I also kind of rediscovered these flower lattice things from the Romantic Garden stuff pack. I just did a Romantic Garden park build. So I was digging through this pack and I was really rediscovering some things that are so beautiful, and these little drapey lattice plants were one of them. And I was so excited because they come in a bunch of fun colors, but they also come in solid pink. So I knew that I had to use them to bring a little bit more of that accent color on the exterior. And then you can see I'm going in with a little bit more of the ivy from Cottage Living. Now I had to cut some of this out for time, but you probably just saw a small peek of this little walkway fountain situation, and I end up changing it. I initially drew the fences in straight lines just because it's easier, to be honest, but ultimately I did not like how straight everything felt. I wanted it to be a little bit more rounded, so I ended up going in and replacing that with some rounded fence pieces, and I put them together, and then the fountain in the middle just felt really beautiful. Now I'm working on the pond, and I absolutely loaded it up with swans and ducks and these lily pads. I really don't think I realized how big of a pond I made until I actually started to fill it in with some of these items, and then I was like, oh, I maybe went a little overboard, but I think it looks so good in the end. These lily pads ended up being perfect. They have these really light peachy pink flowers, and I think that they tied in really nice with what I was going for in the exterior. And now we finally moved on to landscaping. And if you're ever struggling with a large lot and feeling overwhelmed by the amount that you have to landscape, this is the best trick that you could do. You take some kind of low-lying bush or flower or something, and you kind of mark out and draw little outlines of where you want your landscaping to go. And then from there, all you have to do is like fill in the blanks. It's so much easier than going in with like individual flowers and bushes and circling the entire property 6 times to see if there's any like blank spots. This trick has saved me, and it definitely saved me with this lot since I knew that I wanted it to be very lush and almost overgrown. Once I had that outline, then you can see I just go in on any flower that was remotely pink. I had to. I put in the pink rose bushes. I used these little wildflowers everywhere, and then I sprinkled in some lavender here as well. I actually love the way that this looked. I think it gave a nice little contrast, and I was not mad about having a little touch of purple here and there. I don't think it was too much of a departure from our theme that we had going on, but it looked really nice in the end. Now scooting over to the interior, I broke it up a little bit into separate rooms. I always think having closed off spaces in a cottage build makes the most sense. I feel like you're not going to find a lot of open floor plans in a home that has been here for hundreds of years. So I'm starting with the little kitchen dining area, and I really did want to use a pink kitchen counter, but one of the only options we have is from the Country Kitchen kit, and it just wasn't speaking to me. So I ended up just using the Cottage Living light wood counters, and then I paired them with the appliances from the Country Kitchen kit, and those again are like that ideal, beautiful baby pink color that I was going for. And then I really got to have fun with all of the pink furniture and pink accents. Again, my main goal was to not like color drench a room. There was no challenge or rule that said that every item I used had to be tagged as pink. So I wanted to incorporate more pieces that made the home look and feel a little bit more realistic. But I loved using these pink chairs. These are actually from Cats and Dogs, and I love that we have the matching chair, the matching bar stool. I feel like in recent packs that is kind of a rarity. So I was really excited to discover that everything looked really nice and cohesive. Once I hit the interior, I did start to filter items by pink, and I was met with some similar frustration. If you've seen my video where every room is a different style filter, then you know the struggle, because a lot of things in this game are mistagged. The style filter challenge was definitely eye-opening. There were a lot of things tagged as like modern that were not modern whatsoever. And I think you see some of that with the color filter as well. There were a lot of things tagged as pink that weren't really pink, or the opposite, where there were things that weren't tagged as pink, but I would totally classify as being pink. I tried not to use the color filter too much because I didn't want to miss out on items that would actually look really good in the house. You probably just saw me fighting a little bit with the upper cabinets. I just felt like nothing was really working, and so I ended up using these cabinets from the Grange Mudroom kit. And I was so excited because they're the perfect shade of pink. And it was a good reminder that I need to use these as upper kitchen cabinets more often. They look really good. Upper kitchen cabinets have no function in the game, so you can absolutely use these and they look really pretty. I really do love the way that this little kitchen and dining nook turned out. I put in this little side table area with a sweet little mirror. I've got a couple books that look like they're little cookbooks or something. It's little accents like this that just make the space feel super cluttered and nice. And of course, I had to use the pink wall phone. This would not be a toasty build if I did not have a wall phone in the kitchen, and I'm so glad that I remember that they came in pink. That was from the Blast from the Past event. We got 2 different style phones, and I actually think I put both style phones in this build. So we've got the wall phone and we've got the rotary phone. Here I'm moving on to the little sunroom area. I decided to switch the roof out for a glass roof because I wanted it to truly feel like a little conservatory, and I'm so glad that I did because I think it turned out so beautiful. I used this really pretty diamond lattice swatch on the roof trim. I don't really use that often, and I think it worked really nicely for this build. And now I'm working on a bit of an entryway. I was super excited once I kind of rediscovered that the Grange Mudroom kit came with these perfect, beautiful pink swatches. I was like, okay, we have to create some kind of formal entry and use some of these elements, and I'm so glad that I did. I used these 2 little half walls to close in the space a little bit. I didn't want it to be its own room entirely. I wanted it to have a little bit more intrigue. So I used those beautiful little half walls, and then I used columns and spandrels to close the space in. So it still feels open, but the mudroom is like its own area. I went in and used that pretty and plaster swatch on some of the walls in the space. This I also think is a really good trick for making cottages feel very realistic when you bring the exterior wall color on the inside. Not only that, but once I brought it inside, I realized that it almost has a pink hue to it. I don't know if this is me being delusional, but I do think that when you look really closely at this pretty and plaster color, some of the like little faded accents feel pink to me. So I actually think it worked really well on the interior. Now that we're furnishing more of the interior, you can see what I mean, where this is not really a color drenched challenge, but when you look at the house, you can definitely tell that the main color is pink. And then I used a lot of white accents, and then my wood tone, I wanted to keep to that really light wood color. So those were the three main things that I tried to keep in mind as I did the entire inside. But things like this little chair in the hallway, I actually think are so cute. It's got pink in the chair, but it's got other colors too. If you guys ever wanted me to attempt an actual like color drenched challenge, I would be open to it. I think certain colors in this game would be a lot harder than others. I think I could do like a blue drench challenge, no problem. But if you asked me to do all purple, I think I would be in some deep trouble. You can see here I was fighting a little bit with the rugs in this game. I don't understand how we have 1,000 rugs to choose from, and yet it feels like every build I do, I can never find the rug that I want, you know? I definitely am guilty of using the same rugs over and over and over again, because once I find one that I like, that looks good, that feels like it's realistic, I will use it in every single build of mine. And in this room, I really wanted a pink rug, but it just felt like it wasn't coming together, so I ended up using this one. It's still really neutral, and ultimately in the end, I actually feel like it let the pink furniture shine a little bit. I think if I had done a pink rug, pink furniture, pink walls, pink floor, everything would have just gotten lost. And I think that having a lot of neutral elements actually makes the pink shine a little bit more. So I guess in the end, I'm glad that we didn't have a lot of options for pink rugs. I ended up switching it to this rug from Growing Together. It's got some pink roses in that really light shade, so it all worked out in the end. And now we're moving on to the laundry room, and this, dare I say, might be my favorite room in the house. Is that totally crazy to say? Because it's this little like 2x4 room. Not even 2x4, it's a 2x3 room. Once I remembered that we had a pink washer and dryer, it was game over. I knew that I wanted to have a laundry room, and I used the floor tile from the Riviera Retreat Kit. This is definitely meant to be like a pool tile, but it looks so good in this space. It's got a lot of texture to it and almost some discoloration in certain areas that makes it feel very realistic. So I was really excited to give it a try in this space, and I think it ended up looking so nice. I used it in the downstairs bathroom as well. Watching this build back is actually kind of making me sad that February is over already. I feel like this month absolutely flew by. Maybe that's a good thing for some people. I feel like Valentine's Day is one of those holidays that's very hit or miss. I feel like you either love it or you hate it. So maybe some people are glad that Valentine's Day is come and gone, February is over, and we can move on to March. I definitely am really excited for spring this year. Doing all of this crazy landscaping definitely got me in the spirit. I'm excited for the flowers to bloom, and I'm so excited for daylight savings to hit. I cannot wait for March 8th. I can't wait for it to be light until like 8:30 at night. I hate when the sun goes down at 4 p.m. It drives me insane. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to daylight savings this year, probably more than I have in the last couple of years. Now I'm just rambling about daylight savings, which is crazy. So let's get back to the builds. You can see I started to kind of furnish the gazebo. I didn't have any plans for it, but I ended up turning it into a little bit of an art station. I put the woodworking table and the easel from the artist studio kit, as well as a little chess table. So it actually ended up being kind of like a little skill building space. And the same thing happened with the sunroom. I ended up putting the pottery skill in. I remembered that the kiln and the little wheel come in pink, and they look so stinking cute. So I was really excited to turn these spaces into really functional skill building rooms. We've moved upstairs now. I'm working on a little toddler room, and of course I had to include the bright pink Blarfy. There's actually a lot of options for pink kids toys and fun things, so I was really excited to play around with some of that. And now we've moved on to the primary room. And let me just say right off the bat, I actually don't like the way that this room turned out at all. I would normally probably never admit that to you, but looking back at the speed build, I really don't like this room. I think it turned out so bad. I think the problem is that when it comes to pink items in this game, we don't have a lot of sophisticated items. I think I was really struggling sifting through the catalog, searching for pieces that felt very sophisticated and elevated, but still had the pink accents. So ultimately it ended up being a mismatch of pink items, and I don't really love the way that they all turned out and worked together. I am glad I switched the bed for this one from high school years. It's got a really soft pink design on the duvet, and I like it a lot more than the other base game one that I had. This settee that I'm about to put in is actually a perfect example of what I want more of in the game. This is from the Bella Goth kit, and it's really pretty. It's still pink, but it's got that gorgeous like throw blanket and really pretty pillows. It feels elevated and nice and expensive and grown up. So I was super excited to use that in this space. I think I just want more items like that you could really furnish an adult room with and have it still feel very elevated and sophisticated. So, you know, there's still some things lacking. It's not my favorite room, but we press on. We're back outside now, and I'm using a rug outside to create a cute little picnic area. And I threw in a couple of those little gas lights from the Crystal Creations kit. We've got a picnic basket. We've got that little basket of blankets. I thought that was such a cute little accent to have out right by the water. I would love to have a picnic by the water. And here you can see I'm throwing in a debug fence. I knew that I wanted the fence to go right up to the property line, and you can't do that with a regular fence. It has to be one tile away from the edge of the lot if you're using a normal fence. So I went in and I hand placed the debug fence, but I'm actually not mad about it because I love the way that it looks. I loved pairing and kind of mixing and matching the different pieces. There's a lot of pieces that look like they're crumbling and old, and that was the perfect vibe for this property. And you'll notice I put in that arch. That's actually a wedding arch from Cottage Living, and I used it as like the front gate arch. I just loved the light pink flowers on it. I think the tone and the coloring fit really well with this build. So, you know, I guess you could, in theory, get married here on this property if you wanted to. We do have an arch, but otherwise I just thought it was a nice little entrance to the rest of the property. Here we're moving on to the greenhouse, and this is honestly nothing fancy, but I did throw in some of the planters that are glazed in that blush shade. These are the planters that you can actually craft yourself using the pottery skill if you get high enough. I love the pink color. I think it looks so beautiful. And then of course I had to throw in the pink floral arranging table as well. And then once I got going with the little pink things, I just couldn't stop. So I put in some of the pink bee boxes, and I think they look so stinking cute just tucked away over here. And then of course I had to add more flowers and more greenery for our bees that don't actually exist because this is a game, but still I wanted them to have a bunch of little pollination areas. And now I'm just going in and doing some final touches on the landscaping. So I'm adding in some of my favorite filler flowers, which are the little daisies, and then I'm adding in the mushrooms from Debug. These are so perfect. If you're building in Hemford on Bagley, I'm telling you, the very last thing that you should do is take these mushrooms and go around your whole property and just add them everywhere, because they really add to the whimsy and they really sell the fact that this is a cottage. Back at the gazebo, I'm adding some final touches. I did a couple of those hanging planters and some string lights. They looked so beautiful at night. And then on the little back patio, I decided I wanted to have a little place to do some grilling and a little place to sit and enjoy some food. Okay, motorcycle. It's simple, but it turned out so nice. And then it was time for terrain paint. So you can see I'm going in initially with scratchy and patches, and I'm just kind of outlining where I want the pathing to be. I knew I wanted everything to feel very winding and flowy, so I'm sketching that out now, and then I'm going to go in with some of my classic just regular dirt terrain paint. I'm going all around the pond, all around the landscaping. I didn't actually fill in the pond with dirt because I really liked the color of the water, and I was afraid that if I filled it in with dirt, it was gonna change the color. And now for the final touch on the pathways, I'm using a terrain paint that I literally never use, and it is from Cottage Living. It's the stones with the little pink flowers. I never ever use this, but I thought this is the build to try it out, and you know what? I actually think it ended up looking really beautiful in the end. The finishing touch was a little fishing sign for our pond, and I think that is the finished build. I'm gonna jump back into the game and show you the build so you can get a closer look at all the fun details. I moved the land grabs into the house so I could show you what it looks like in live mode, because this little pond area with the swans, the ducks, and the water wheel is just absolutely gorgeous. I even love the way the light is like shining through the willow trees. I just think this build turned out so beautiful. All right, just ignore the land grabs here, but we've got our little main entryway along with our laundry room and our downstairs bathroom. Moving into the living room, we've actually got a lot of fun little pink accents in here. And of course, I had to use the Crystal Creations bookshelves because there is a swatch where almost all of the books are pink. You know I had to do it. Malcolm, how did you end up there? Oh my gosh. Whatever, we're ignoring that. I think the kitchen turned out really sweet, along with this little dining nook area, and I put in this little record player from the Bella Goth kit so that your Sims can listen to music while they're eating or cooking. And then this is our beautiful little sunroom area. I added in, of course, the pottery skill because it comes in pink, so I had to. And then we've got a fun little games table so you can do puzzles or play games with your family. Upstairs, this is a quick overview. We've got a little toddler's room here. We've got our primary room that I actually don't even like and don't want to talk about. And then this is that giant upstairs bathroom. I cut it out of the speed build just for time, but you've got a bathtub, a shower, and all the essentials. Moving into the backyard, this is kind of just a top-down overview of the property. It's really big, and we've got a bunch of fun little areas to explore. I love the way this path looks leading up to the greenhouse. I ended up using the fountain. This is from Romantic Garden Stuff. There's actually gameplay tied to this. Like, I think you can dance in this fountain if you want. So I thought that was a really cute little touch. Over in this corner, we've got a sweet little swing set. And of course, we've got our nice little greenhouse. Lots of fun little clutter and spaces to grow your own plants. Now, when you venture over here, we've got a little path that leads to the pond so you can actually fish. And then we've got a sweet little fire pit area. I know we have laundry inside, but I had to include a space to do laundry out here because this little tub comes in pink. And then this is our sweet little gazebo. Like I mentioned, there's a place to do art and woodworking, and we've got a cute little chess table up here. And then this little path offshoots over to our little bees. Coming around to the rest of the pond, we've got our cute little picnic area here. I had to throw in this pink little bike, and I think that might be the finished build. I had so much fun with this color challenge. If you'd like to see me attempt an actual color challenge where I only ever use items tagged as a certain color, then let me know. But I do think this build turned out very pretty and very playable. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more from me, then please feel free to subscribe. I put out new videos every single week, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye. If you have a color you want me to attempt next, then let me know. I'm kind of looking for a bit more of a challenge, so do with that what you will.